Good morning, dear fellow teachers, fellow faculty members, and students. And happy World Distance Learning Day. My morning message today deals with this important day and issue. So, distance learning means that the teachers and the students are physically in different locations and are connected through digital devices such as the desktop, laptop, tablet, or mini tablet computers, or via their cell phones or smartphones. This mode of education has become very common internationally since March 2020, when the ongoing COVID pandemic forced most countries to close many of their schools. How did the distance learning begin? In the late 19th century, some British and American schools, colleges, and universities started to allow their teachers and students to exchange exercises, assignments, and eventually even exams through letters. This alternative mode of learning helped many students who could not attend their lessons, for example, because of illness, work, caring for their siblings, or poverty. Before the 19th century ended, some teachers began to record their lessons on the phonograph, or the cassette player's first form. They then sent those recorded lessons to those students who could not be physically present during their lessons. In the early 20th century, early forms of distance learning spread through North America, most of Europe, and several Latin American, African, Asian, and Oceanian countries. Occasionally, the news films were also used as educational materials. However, usually they were viewed in the movie theaters, not in the schools. In the 1950s and the 1970s, a growing number of North American, European, Latin American, African, Asian, and Oceanian teachers started to prepare televised lessons, which the students could view later at their homes or at their friends' homes. In addition, many schools around the world built or arranged special rooms, lecture theaters, or basement rooms, for example, where these educational TV programs or videos could be viewed. Moreover, many educational cassettes were recorded and produced between the 1960s and the 1980s. Gradually, between the 1960s and the 1980s, more schools started to purchase television sets to show educational videos, TV programs, and movies. Because I was born in 1972, I can still remember watching rather many educational TV programs and some educational movies during my elementary and high school years in Finland and Canada. In the 1980s, many schools throughout the world bought computers as learning and teaching tools. Special computer classrooms were therefore built and arranged, and computer science or data processing started to be taught. The teachers and students could type and print their lessons, exercises, assignments, and even exams. Those printouts were, when necessary, mailed to the students who could not be physically present during their lessons. Between 1989 and 1991, a British computer scientist, Sir Timothy Berners-Lee, developed the World Wide Web, which spread to tens of countries during the 1990s. Gradually, during that decade, more schools started to use the internet as an educational tool to search for, compare, analyze, and share information, and increasingly to ease and quicken the communication between the teachers and the students via the email messages. In addition, also in the 1990s, more schools began to use CDs, compact discs, instead of the traditional cassettes as tools of teaching and learning. The production of educational CDs began in North America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and several rich American or Latin American, African, and Asian countries. From those countries, the educational CDs to most other countries during the next 2 decades, the 2000s and the 2010s. Also in the 2000s and the 2010s, the internet spread to almost all countries, and most of them adopted the online learning materials in their curriculums or teaching plans. began to upload and download learning and teaching materials from the internet, and to organize digital seminars or webinars, conferences, tutorials, and even lessons. While many educational CDs were still produced, they were increasingly replaced by educational online videos, documentaries, and movies. How has the ongoing pandemic affected online learning? Millions of schools throughout the world now operate fully or partly online. Unfortunately, for millions of financially poor African, Asian, and Latin American students, this has made the regular communication with their teachers more difficult because most of those students do not have steady or sufficiently quick internet connections. Many of them, especially in Africa, watch the educational TV programs. The United Nations estimates that about 440 million new students are still waiting for the start of their school year. How can they be helped to start or to restart their education? Fortunately, many private educational activists and members of NGOs have given informal lessons and learning materials to the students who have been deprived of regular education during the pandemic. Many teachers, students, parents, and guardians are also devising clever, innovative, and creative online plans to help those students. For example, group chats, whether on the Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, or on Viber. In addition, many online experts are constantly developing new teaching and learning applications and improving the old ones. Again, it has been shown that we humans can adapt reasonably well to crises, and we can together overcome them. Next, I would like to briefly summarize the do's and the don'ts of online learning. The do's: be punctual in logging into the online lessons on time. 2. Try to be punctual in submitting your classwork on time. 3. Communicate with your teachers regularly, especially if you need help. 4. Participate regularly in the digital lessons classroom discussions. 5. Give also your classmates enough opportunities to participate in those discussions. So how can we both be active in participating and give the others enough chances to contribute? For example, by patiently waiting for our turn, then either by jotting down note paper or on our digital devices our questions and comments, by digitally raising our hands and patiently waiting before the teachers give us our turn to speak, and then by using the chat boxes. 2. Do not be passive or uncommunicative during your online lessons. 3. Avoid submitting blank files as classwork. 4. Obey the teacher's instructions for the classwork. And 5. Do not deprive your classmates of the chance to answer questions. Finally, I'm going to outline a call to action for all of us as an international school community. First, we try to improve our performance as online teachers and learners. Secondly, we should share more online teaching and learning materials with each other. Thirdly, we should share some helpful online methods or techniques of teaching and learning. Fourthly, we should encourage each other regularly through positive feedback. Fifthly, we should follow the international news, preferably on a daily basis and preferably in multiple languages. Sixthly, and finally, we should share especially the news items which inspire us to keep learning, teaching, and trying our best as an international school family. Thank you so much, dear fellow netizens, for your attention to this morning message, and have a wonderful, blessed, and inspiring new school week and September ahead.